Hey everyone, Mortal Martin here. I just finished watching the Mortal Kombat movie that came out this past weekend. I have seen it twice. Today was my second time watching it. And watching it with me was none other than Brother Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Brother Thomas here.
So you've actually seen it 3 times now.
Yes, I watched it the night it came out. I watched it yesterday with my wife, and then I watched it here with Mortal Martin.
Yes, and I've also watched it in theaters on Saturday evening with a friend of mine. And we have some thoughts for you. So, before we begin, I just want to say that this review slash discussion will have spoilers of the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it in theaters or watch it on HBO Max. It's pretty much free on there until like May 23rd or something like that. So go ahead and go see it before we begin. So pause the video, watch it first, then come back to the video, and we'll talk all about it.
Sounds good. See you later. All right.
So, Brother Thomas, what did you think of the movie overall? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I liked it as kind of mindless fun, much like the Mortal Kombat games. What about you?
I'd agree with that. I really did enjoy it. As a Mortal Kombat intellectual property, movie, game, comic, whatever, I thought it was pretty fun, just like the games. Kind of like the original Mortal Kombat movie that came out in the 90s. It was just mindless fun. You can just watch it with a bag of popcorn like I did at the movies. And I enjoyed it, and my friend who watched it enjoyed it too.
Is he really into Mortal Kombat?
He's played some of the games. He wasn't all that familiar with everything, but he was familiar with some of it. But we've been playing Mortal Kombat for 20 plus years.
Oh, we're old.
Almost 30 years
Almost,
for you.
Yeah.
And one thing that we should talk about is the movie close enough to the games for Mortal Kombat fans to seek their teeth into and enjoy.
Sink their teeth into. Nice.
Yes.
I would say it probably is. I mean, opinions are going to vary. The plot doesn't follow the game's plot as closely as like the first Mortal Kombat that came out in '95 did. There's not really a tournament within the movie. It's like talked about, but it's never shown. This is the tournament that's taking place where the Earthrealmers are battling to save the planet from Outworld. It's never shown in a tournament.
Right.
It's almost like a prequel.
It is kind of like a prequel. So speaking of the plot, basically it follows a group of chosen champions of Earthrealm who have this dragon logo or birthmark somewhere on their body, and that basically shows that they're chosen to defend Earthrealm from the invading force of Outworld, who has to win 10 consecutive tournaments in a row in order to conquer Earthrealm. And the crux of the story follows a new character to the franchise who is not in any of the games, named Cole Young, who teams up with known Mortal Kombat heroes like Jax and Sonya Blade and Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Raiden, against a whole host of enemies, including Sub-Zero, Shang Tsung, Melina, Natara, and Cabal.
And Reiko.
And Kano's also there. We'll talk about him. And that's not really the plot of the games, and it's not the plot of the original movie, but it's still...
It's this plot, so it's important.
It's this plot. It's a new plot. And we see basically the characters come to life in the modern age instead of being back in the 90s. Let's kind of run down some of the character moments and character stuff that's in the movie. What did you think of the figureheads of Mortal Kombat, Scorpion and Sub-Zero in this movie? They both play a major role.
Yeah. Unlike in the first Mortal Kombat movie, the 95 one, they're much more prevalent. They're a lot closer to the game source material. Both the actors, I don't know offhand their names, but they were very, very good representing both of them. Their action scenes were probably the highlight of the movie.
One of the highlights.
One of the highlights of the movies, for sure.
Yeah.
I think Sub-Zero, this of course being Bihan,
right?
Who is the older brother of the Sub-Zero that you know and love, Kuai Liang, yeah. He's evil.
He is evil.
And he's basically serving Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
He's almost like a sub boss kind of.
Yeah.
And Scorpion or Hanzo Hasashi, his family gets murdered by the Lin Kuei,
right?
Which is true to the games. And I think whenever those two were on screen together, it would be definitely in the top 5 moments in this movie for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think Scorpion was pretty well cast as well. I think that he had a lot of dramatic emphasis in the scenes in a movie that's based primarily on action.
Yeah.
We had a lot of speculation in the trailers on Cole Young and what his role was in the movie, and there was speculation that he was somehow connected to Scorpion based on how his scenes were shot in the trailer. And we can confirm that Cole Young is a long-time descendant of Scorpion, Hanzo Hasashi, and he basically carries on Scorpion's lineage. Within the movie, there's this prophecy that states that Hanzo's bloodline would help bring about the rise of Earthrealm's champions. That plot point isn't really in the games.
No, because Cole Young doesn't exist in the games.
Yeah, Cole Young doesn't exist in the games. Scorpion's bloodline ends, and that's kind of the point of his character. He seeks revenge against many characters, including Bihan, for that. And switching gears to some other characters, what did you think about Sonya, Jax, and Kano? Because all 3 of them are kind of mixed together in a rivalry between Kano and Jax is there and Sonya is there, just like in the games. What did you think about those 3 characters?
Okay, the characters themselves. I like the characterization of Kano a lot. He was almost like the comedy.
Yeah, I'd say he's the comedy of the movie for the most part.
And in addition to being kind of the comedy within this very heavy action-packed movie, he's almost like the everyman viewer. Like, he says, lines like "none of that Harry Potter shit," or he gets eye lasers, and he's comparing it to Liu Kang's fireballs, and it's something that I can see him as a character actually saying.
Right.
And so I thought he was well cast. Again, I know none of the actors involved in this movie by name, but they were pretty, fairly represented. Kano, he fought a little bit, but he didn't really fight too much hand to hand.
Right.
I would have enjoyed him fighting a little more.
Right.
But Jax and Sonya, who are very closely tied within the games. It's almost like they switched gears because spoiler alert again. You meet Jax before you meet Sonya.
Right.
In this movie. Whereas in the games, Sonya, of course, was in Mortal Kombat 1. Right. Jax came out in Mortal Kombat 2. And who, Jax was going to try to find Sonya. That was kind of his big character arc, I guess, in Mortal Kombat 2.
Right.
But in this, they're almost presented almost like conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, they're special forces, so, like, there's a reason behind it, but... Sonya has her Gary, Indiana headquarters, which was kind of funny. But overall, I like them.
So,
what about you?
So in this movie, Jax gets his metal arms. You see it in the trailers. He gets his arms frozen and ripped off by Sub-Zero. And he's out of commission for a lot of the movie, and then Sonya comes in and is sort of helping Cole Young kind of get to the next stage of understanding what's happening. I think that both Sonya and Jax were pretty well done. I think that they're both presented just more or less how they are in the video game. Kano, if you've been a fan of my channel, you know that I play with Kano in Mortal Kombat 11 a lot. I thought he was my favorite character of the movie because most of his lines are comedic in nature. And Kano being Kano, he's a scumbag, and he's kind of just ripping on Sonya throughout almost the entire movie, and it's really fun to watch. I kind of don't want to spoil any of his lines, because you just have to watch it and see. Joining those guys are the Shaolin monks, plus Raiden. Shaolin monks being Liu Kang and Kung Lao. What did you think of those three characters in the movie?
I think they were done very, very well. Particularly Kung Lao. I mean, Liu Kang was, portrayed again accurately. He's, a very solemn monk with fire.
Yeah, he has a lot of fire going on.
But I feel, really captured Kung Lao's fighting style as well as his confidence / arrogance.
Yeah.
And, he has, a couple of special moves thrown in there.
Yeah,
more so than a lot of the other characters.
I think his special moves stand out within the movie just by the way that they're portrayed. Like, yep. Kung Lao's entrance into the movie is kind of cool because he uses one of his signature special moves, and then he throws his hat around, and it's very effective.
Very effective.
And I also agree with you on Liu Kang. I think he was pretty accurately portrayed as far as his fireballs go. He does use his bicycle kick.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look all that wonderful.
It kind of looks like he's just kind of flailing around, honestly.
Yeah, it looks like he's just kind of wiggling his legs around in the air a little bit. But it's okay because his fireballs and all of his fire special effects and everything, they look great. So it kind of makes up for it.
Yeah.
As well as his characterization is pretty spot on to the games. What about Raiden? What did you think of Raiden?
He wasn't as much of a mentor as I thought he would or, should be. He's the Earth Realm's protector, or one of them.
Yeah.
And yes, he basically can't interfere, I guess.
It's not very well established in that. I'd agree with you on Raiden. He didn't zap enough people.
Yeah.
I think he zapped like 2 people throughout the entire movie. He zapped Kano, and he zapped Shang Tsung.
He teleported
Shang Tsung, and we'll get to that. So basically, Cole Young and the Special Forces guys, along with Kano, because Kano has the dragon marking
Yeah. He's one of Earthrealm's protectors.
He's apparently one of Earthrealm's protectors because earlier he had killed someone who had the marking, and the marking kind of transferred to him. I don't know how that's supposed to work. That's kind of one of my questions about the movie. But he and Sonya and Cole meet up with the Shaolin, and Jax is there after getting his arms frozen off. The Shaolin monks rescued him, and they do this kind of training thing where they're getting ready to face Shang Tsung and the rest of his bad guys. Let's talk about Shang Tsung and the rest of his bad guys.
Oh boy, the rest of the bad guys.
So there's Shang Tsung. He's the main villain. I think it's personally, I like how Shang Tsung's portrayed in the movie. Kind of like in the first video game, he's the main bad guy in the first game. So there was kind of that part to it. Unlike in the games, there's no tournament as such.
He's just kind of an evil warlord or evil sorcerer from Outworld,
right? Which is sort of what he is in the games. He can steal souls. He can. In the games, he can fight. He didn't fight.
No, he didn't.
He just kind of pointed and talked about stuff. I thought the actor was pretty good. Yeah. Of course, the actor from the original movie is iconic in the role.
Yeah. It almost seemed to me like he was emulating a little bit of that.
Some of the lines,
a little bit.
Some of the lines were the same. Yeah. But I mean, they're iconic Shang Tsung lines. It's like saying "Get over here."
Yeah.
Scorpion has to say it, and we'll get into that. So Shang Tsung is joined by Sub-Zero, who we've talked about. Sub-Zero is one of the highlights of the movie. He's also joined by Melina, Reiko, and Cabal and Natara, as well as an appearance by Prince Goro.
Yes.
So let's talk about them. Which parts of Shang Tsung's bad guy group did you like? What parts did you not like?
Okay. Again, if you've watched Mortal Martin's channel, you know Brother Thomas, me. I like Cabal. I thought he was portrayed pretty spot on. He didn't do his little nomad dash, but he did have his speed, and he had his hook swords, and he had his overall attitude, and I thought he was very well done.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Cabal was pretty fun to watch while he was on screen.
Yeah. Melina, it was awkward because, for me personally, it's weird to see her without katana.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, in the games, Melina is basically an evil clone of Kitana, who's the princess of Edenia, which is one of the realms conquered by Outworld. Kitana is essentially Shao Kahn's adoptive daughter. Shao Kahn in the games is basically the emperor of Outworld, and he is Shang Tsung's boss.
Yeah.
So without Kitana, Melina is just kind of just a goon for the good guys to fight, rather than having that special connection with Kitana. So that's kind of a knock against the movie for me, because it's kind of...
Where is she?
She's ferocious in the movie. I think the way she fights and the way she's overall portrayed is pretty good. It's just the lack of Kitana.
Yeah, it grates against me, man.
It's kind of one of those things that... It's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. You need both in order to have a convincing, engaging storyline between the two characters. I also liked Goro.
I like Goro as well. I don't like fighting Goro in the games, but he's portrayed here pretty well. He's a very convincing monster, and he fights Cole Young rather than, I don't know, Liu Kang or Kung Lao or any of the actual / Mortal Kombat people.
Yeah.
And he is definitely a threat.
Right. So Goro, I thought his scene was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
When he fights Cole Young. And then there are Natara and Reiko, or Reiko.
Reiko, yeah.
And both of those characters in the games, they're not minor characters as such because they're both playable fighters in different games, but they're not on the big list of names that you want to see in a Mortal Kombat movie. They are goons.
Jobbers.
They're jobbers. They basically, this is a spoiler, they both die fatality-wise by our heroes, Kung Lao and Jax. What did you think? Okay, so Natara,
right?
She's basically a vampire from Outworld.
Yeah.
There's not much to her character in the movie. That's pretty much it. She can fly.
Yeah, and there may or may not be some kind of relationship between she and Shang Tsung.
Yeah, I
maybe
there is. I think maybe they could establish where Shang Tsung kind of helped create Natara, so it's more of a father-daughter thing rather than a romance thing. Because I think after seeing it today the second time, I didn't really see the romantic part to it. I think he was just trying to flatter her.
Yeah, well, I don't know. When I first saw it, I thought, wait, are they together? Are they a romantic couple?
Yeah, it's not really.
It's not established. Either way,
it's also not really important.
No,
because Natara eats it bad. And then there's Reiko, who in the games and in the expanded lore, he's one of Shao Kahn's generals. Yeah. But he's also like a Shao Kahn wannabe. He wants to be the Emperor of Outworld. And in the movie, he's played by this big dude. He's the only name that I can recognize. His name is Nathan Jones. He's like this big hulking guy, and he just screams a lot. And Reiko isn't like that in the games.
Yeah, like he when I saw it yesterday with my wife, she honestly thought that he had problems. Yeah, like mental problems, because he doesn't have any lines of dialogue. He just kind of yells like angrily.
Yeah, his entire character arc is screaming,
screaming. Hit things with hammers, and that's pretty much it.
Right. So those are the goon squad of Shang Tsung. Basically, the heroes and Kano go to Raiden's temple to train for the upcoming tournament that's going to take place, but Shang Tsung decides to basically go and assassinate the heroes before the tournament can begin, so that way Outworld can win. And basically they kind of storm Raiden's temple, and there's several fight scenes going on amongst the different characters. Kung Lao faces Natara, and if you're a fan of fatalities,
this is a major one.
This is probably the best fatality featured in the movie. There are a number of fatalities in the movie, and they're all, in my opinion, pretty well done.
And it's a nice callback to the game,
right? And for me, I'm not going to spoil it, but you have to actually watch it because it's kind of hilarious. Watching Kung Lao's reaction to seeing what he's doing to Natara is kind of great. And then Reiko beats Jax, who has cybernetic arms, but they're not fully functional.
Yeah, they're almost like metal skeletal arms.
Right.
That he has no meat on them bones.
Right.
And they're not fleshed out is the wrong word, but they're not like fully enhanced. Like he doesn't have all of his strength.
Right. And Sonya faces Melina. Melina beats Sonya, but she decides not to kill her because Sonya does not have one of those dragon markings. She's just kind of tagging along, basically. And Liu Kang faces Cabal, and I think their fight scenes are pretty good.
Yeah, that one I feel, because they both kind of have, this superpowers.
Uh-huh.
At that point, they're an even match, I feel.
Right. I think, technically speaking, I think Liu Kang beat Cabal because he slaps him away and runs to Kung Lao,
right,
who, spoiler alert, is getting fatalitied by Shang Tsung.
Right.
Through a soul steal, which is really well done. I think it's definitely one of the better fatalities in the movie for me. And once that happens, Raiden teleports all of the heroes away so they can plan their final attack. And they decide to isolate each one of Shang Tsung's goons and basically kill them, kind of in a counter assassination, one-on-one fight between the different combatants. And one of the things that happened at Raiden's temple is Kano betrays the group, which is not really a spoiler because if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat,
you know this.
Kano is going to do something like this. He's basically convinced by Cabal to let them in because money.
Yeah, money. I like money.
I like money too. And Cabal and Kano are former or maybe even current Black Dragon members, so they have that connection.
Yeah, they know each other.
Yeah, they know each other, and it's kind of fitting that Kano and Cabal, their characters kind of jump off the screen more than the other characters. They're kind of like, they're good, but they're kind of bland. Like Kano and Cabal, for me, they stand out because they're kind of snarky and kind of comedic.
Yeah.
Not that the other characters are bad, but they just stand out.
Yeah, it's like they're more interested in their personal goals than the goals of Earthrealm or the goals of Outworld.
Right.
They're just in it to get rich and profit off of all the destruction.
Right.
Which is absolutely what they're about.
It's exactly what happened in Mortal Kombat 3 with Kano.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened. Basically they get rematches. There's a concept in the movie about, I don't even remember what they called it. Basically it's sort of like this inner power.
Right.
They can only
inner special power.
Yeah, that they can only access through being chosen. Then they have to go through training or some sort of rigorous emotional state. Kano is his eye laser, which in the games is a cybernetic component, but his is more like supernatural. Liu Kang's is his fire. Kung Lao, I'd imagine, is his teleport.
Yeah, it has something to do with teleportation and or his hat.
Yeah, but I mean, his hat is just a cool weapon.
Well, he can also like retract it at will. He can.
Right.
He can. I don't know. He can make it spin.
Yes.
Without throwing it. He basically has like telekinetic control over his hat.
Right. And then there's Jax, who his inner power is he basically grows out that metal, his cybernetic arms, which kind of doesn't make sense because in my head they're not. Yeah, they're not together. The technological part of it and the supernatural part of it, and then Raiden is obviously the Thunder God, so he gets
he gets a pass,
right. And so basically, what they do is they each kind of fight their rivals. Sonya goes and fights Kano. Jax fights Reiko. Kung Lao doesn't do anything because he's dead, but Liu Kang goes and fights Cabal.
Yeah.
And Cole Young, who's fought and beaten Goro already by this point, fights Melina.
Yeah. And whenever he fights Goro, that's kind of where his inner Okana or whatever it's called, his inner superpower comes out. It's basically him having kind of like a suit of armor that can manifest weapons.
Yeah, it can manifest weapons, but it also like absorbs physical kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So if you punch him in the chest or something, his armor will absorb it.
Yeah. And I would imagine fighting Goro in that state would be better than without it.
Right.
But he basically gets that power, and then he's fighting Melina, and
I think the fight scenes are pretty good.
Yeah. I feel that the fight scene between Cole Young and Melina is probably one of the weaker ones.
Yeah.
Neither one really do much.
Yeah.
Melina teleports, which is on point.
Yeah.
But another kind of lackluster fight would be Reiko versus Jax.
Yeah. But they do fight. I don't know if you caught it. They fought on the pit.
They do fight on the pit.
Which is a historically important stage in Mortal Kombat. It's probably the most iconic stage in Mortal Kombat. They fight on the pit, and Reiko's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
He's just a big, screaming, angry, big man and with a hammer, and Jax basically uses his enhanced arms to slap
his head
together. It's kind of a shame we didn't see a stage fatality.
Yeah, see, like, I understand that they had to get in Jax's head slap fatality, but it would have been nice to see the pit.
Right. And then Sonya fights Kano, and I thought that fight was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of character dynamics going on, because they're fighting in the Gary, Indiana trailer that Sonya lives in. And it's a pretty entertaining fight. They fight all around the trailer, and eventually Sonya manages to kill Kano,
thus earning the tattoo or the birthmark or the
Mortal Kombat trademark logo.
Right. And immediately after, doing that, she's teleported back to the fight between Cole Young and Melina. Right. And spoiler alert, she has her superpowers now, which is basically her ring blast.
Yeah, she basically charges up some pink energy and shoots it through the belly of Melina. And then Cabal and Liu Kang have a rematch. Yeah. And I thought that was probably the strongest of the rematches, in my opinion. Because the fight itself was really entertaining. And there's a fatality in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how Cabal gets stuck in
quicksand
or something, and Liu Kang basically summons this fire dragon.
Awesome.
Which is really cool, and he basically burns alive.
And then he says fatality.
Yeah.
For Kung Lao.
And then they all meet up. No, what happens is Sub-Zero shows up because he's not involved in any of these fights. He shows up. It turns out he basically kidnapped Cole Young's family. And Cole Young has a daughter who is the latest in the line of Hanzo Hasashi's bloodline. And he's basically baiting Cole Young to go fight him. And Cole Young basically starts fighting Sub-Zero. And he's basically getting his ass beat. And then all of a sudden, Scorpion shows up and rescues and fights Sub-Zero. Or he rescues Cole Young and fights Sub-Zero. And I thought the fight one-on-one between Scorpion and Sub-Zero was probably the strongest fight.
Yeah,
definitely. It's what all the marketing is all about for Mortal Kombat, and I think it lived up to it. There's a pretty cool moment where he Scorpion flings his sword back to himself after...
Yeah. That was cool. That's honestly probably my favorite moment.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then Sub-Zero eventually gets the upper hand, and they're fighting in
like a frozen UFC octagon.
Yeah, Cole Young's family is frozen into the size of the cage, and they're basically fighting. Cole Young is trying to free his family. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are fighting, and then it's decided that Scorpion and Cole Young are going to fight Sub-Zero together, and I thought that was pretty fun to watch. And they basically beat down Sub-Zero. He takes off his armor to reveal kind of this all-black ninja look, which... if you're a fan of the games, you know what that means, or you know that's possibly foreshadowing. He could be transformed into Noob Saibot, kind of this demon ninja thing, which is really cool, and his brother Thomas's favorite character in the Mortal Kombat lore. One of them, sure.
He's good in Trilogy and UMK3. He's so cheap, which I can kind of tell in this movie too. Yeah. I think repeatedly Sub-Zero or Bihan is shown as the strongest, not physically strongest, but the most like talented, most dangerous one-on-one fighter.
Yeah, they really portray Sub-Zero as a threat.
Yeah.
He's like the opposite of Natara, right?
He is the opposite of Natara.
He's
a threat.
He's a threat. And they eventually beat Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
Scorpion is like...
Protect my family.
Protect my... He tells Cole Young to protect his family, and then he takes off his mask, and he just does his famous flame breath fatality on Sub-Zero, and it's really cool looking. You can see the skull.
Yeah. I think that was really well done.
Yeah. And basically the movie ends with Shang Tsung showing up, and then all of a sudden Raiden shows up, and they have this until next time thing. And then Raiden basically
teleports him away.
And then Raiden tells that Cole Young and Sonya and Jax and Liu Kang that they're going to recruit some new heroes, and then there's kind of like this almost an end credits scene. It's not an end credits scene, but it's like
an epilogue.
It's sort of like an epilogue where it's revealed that Cole Young is gonna go and recruit Johnny Cage, who is a major popular Mortal Kombat character, who is not in the movie physically, but he is referenced in the movie through that. So that's basically the plot, and I think it was okay, like the plot.
And plot-wise, it was okay.
I have some issues with the pacing. Yeah. So, probably the most jarring part of the pacing problems that I had was after they lost their original fights with Shang Tsung's bad group. Is they like plan their counter attacks, and all of a sudden they're already in the fights, and the fights are over in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's like the common like screenwriters thing. Oh, you go to the top of a hill and then a huge battle occurs, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like there's definitely lead up to it, and then they're automatically there. Like once they get to the let's plan stage, it goes right into the fight. It never shows or explains what their plan is, except to isolate them.
Right.
And Rain can teleport anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Right.
And spoiler alert, that's basically what happens to get the individual bad guy goons to fight the heroes, and it's just, I don't know. It seems really forced.
Yeah, it's. I wish the movie had made like 30 minutes extra screen time.
Yeah,
to at least if the all of a sudden they're there was like so fast, at least make the fights more competitive, and like they're not enjoyable, but like make them even more like bloody and stuff like that you expect from a Mortal Kombat fight. It's just really sudden. And another thing about the movie that was just kind of like, kind of weird was that all the characters just kind of showed up whenever it was convenient for them.
Yeah. Like
Sub-Zero just kind of teleports everywhere. The bad guys kind of storm Raiden's temple all of a sudden. Like, how did they find Raiden's temple? I mean, I know Kano knew where to find them, but he wasn't with them at the time.
No.
So I don't understand the whole thing with the dragon tattoo. Like that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that seems really forced.
The hidden power. I'm like, I sort of get it, because you shouldn't immediately be able to do mystical powers. Like you should train it, but it shouldn't be like unlocked through the chosen thing. I thought it was just kind of weird. There's some like, for me, this is kind of like what we agreed on, is if you think about the movie for longer than you should, it kind of starts to fall apart logically.
Yeah.
The action's fun.
Yeah, it's good, mindless fun.
Yeah, it's good. If you insert the mind into it, it kind of falls apart most of the time.
Yeah.
I think Scorpion and Sub-Zero's fights, there's a lot of emotional and mental like attachment to those fights, so the payoff is worth it. But all the other fights are just kind of like, let's fight.
Yeah.
Sonya and Kano, they had their fight.
Yeah, but
and that was a little bit like, okay, yeah, that's good, but
another thing, it's like Raiden can teleport anybody anywhere. Why didn't he just like dump them in the ocean?
Yeah, or why didn't Raiden just teleport to Shang Tsung and kill him?
Yeah,
because they say he can't get involved, but he does.
Yeah,
like he does, and it's just whatever.
Yeah. Also, Shang Tsung, I mean, he is a sorcerer, so it kind of makes sense. But like, I think that whenever one of the bad guys teleports, there's like this black smoke around them, which I think Shang Tsung is doing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it's Shang Tsung, but
and he can't teleport in the game, so minor gripe.
Yeah, there's some kind of Mortal Kombat fanboy griping that could happen, but I think overall it's still pretty good.
Yeah, and it kind of makes up for it in Shang Tsung's soul suck and just his overall presentation of himself. Like he is Shang Tsung, so I'm not gonna put it past him to be able to do that. It just the characters needed to be at certain places at this time, and they couldn't get an Uber, so they got teleported. That's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, it's kind of a minor gripe, but it's kind of noticeable as you're watching the movie, especially if you've seen it 2 or 3 times like we've had.
Yeah.
What did you think, shifting gears, what did you think about the special effects of the movie? Because if we compare it to the first 2 Mortal Kombat movies back in the 90s, which this movie is a reboot of, is miles better.
Well, yeah, because times change.
Well, the time has changed, but 95 Mortal Kombat came out after Terminator 2, which had good special effects too.
That's true.
So it's one of those things. Whenever so I have a history of not trusting Warner Brothers special effects. Like I remember we watched Shazam, and that had some questionable special effects. What did you think about the special effects in this movie?
I felt overall they were pretty good. At least how it relates to a Mortal Kombat audience. I did like that they use a lot of practical effects when they could.
Yeah, I think
the action, like it, especially like I said, Kung Lao, like his choreography, and Scorpion and Sub-Zero, like the way they fight is very fluid. It's obvious that the actors are either trained incredibly well or their stunt doubles are amazing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Some of the special effects. I completely forgot about this until right now. Another character that made an appearance that we did not discuss was Reptile.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Reptile. It basically he has a 1-on-3 fight with Cole Young, Sonya, and Kano.
Yep.
Kano manages to beat him. Spoiler. But his invisibility as well as his overall appearance, I think they did a much better job than I thought they would.
Right. So Reptile, he has this acid spit, and then he has the tongue that can get over here. But for Reptile, I thought Reptile was pretty decent. Like Reptile has had a nasty history in the games,
yeah,
and the source material itself of being kind of screwed over.
Yeah,
that's actually kind of been a running joke. He's constantly being screwed over. I think this is one of those rare times where he is technically going to lose, but he is taken as a potential serious threat. And I think his scene with Kano and Sonya and Cole is pretty fun. Yeah, I think his special effects were pretty good.
Yeah.
Goro.
Goro was pretty good. My wife made the comment that he looks a lot like the Hulk.
He did look a lot like the Hulk.
Of course, Hulk is greener and has a few fewer arms.
Yeah.
But like he's kind of presented like that, a big CGI monster, and it wasn't badly portrayed. I would give the Goro scene in particular probably like an 8 out of 10. Like it's obvious that it wasn't like a practical effect, it wasn't like a prosthetic or like a I don't know what they're called, like a puppet.
Yeah.
Like the original Mortal Kombat. But it was pretty well done. Just again, don't think too hard.
Right. So one of the things with about the movie that I wanted to talk about was the Easter eggs. So
there are tons of them.
There are tons of them. So let's talk about a couple of them.
Okay.
They make plenty of references to different clans. Lin Kuei, the Shirai Ryu, which
Black
is
Dragon.
Sub-Zero is part of the Lin Kuei, Scorpion's part of the Shirai Ryu, or Shirai Ryu, and Kano and Cabal are part of the Black Dragon. There's
Special Forces.
The Special Forces. There's the Shaolin Order of Light, which I think has a different name in the.
Isn't it White Lotus Society?
I think it's called the White Lotus Society in the games, but I think it's kind of interchangeable
Yeah.
because they also go by the Order of Light.
Yeah.
That's Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and Raiden's kind of involved with that. There are images and references to characters like Nightwolf.
Yeah.
And there's an
Kotal.
image, Kotal Khan, although he isn't Khan yet.
Yeah, he just Kotal himself.
Kotal Average Joe. And then there's
Kotal six pack.
And then there's a verbal reference to Boraicho, who is one of Liu Kang and Kung Lao's trainers in the games.
Was there also? I don't know. I have to watch it again for the 4th time.
Yeah.
Was there also one of the statues? Was that Boraicho? Do you know?
It might have been Boraicho.
Yeah.
I know there's a Raiden statue
Yeah.
in Raiden's temple, and then there's a statue of Fujin.
Yeah, it might have been Fujin.
But there's also another statue which could either be Boraicho or
like the Great Kung Lao.
the Great Kung Lao. There are murals.
Murals.
There are some murals in the Temple of Raiden that depict Shao Kahn, the Great Kung Lao. There's very minor characters of Argus and Delia, who are the elder gods of a realm called Edenia.
And then Katana's fan was in the background.
Yeah.
The background,
which means she's in the universe somewhere, but we don't know where. We don't know if she's dead. We don't know if she's just somewhere else. There's also Shinnok's amulet.
Yeah. Put that back.
But which Kano attempts to steal and possibly successfully stole. But he's never seen him put it back.
You never see him put it back, but it seems like I don't know.
Yeah, there's a number of spoilers. There's a number of Easter eggs in the movie that Mortal Kombat game fans would recognize. So another very important thing. What did you think of the very important "Get over here" line from Scorpion? It's the most important line in Mortal Kombat as a series. What did you think? There was a lot of hoopla about whether or not the actor did a good job, because it's a very iconic line. What did you think? What letter grade would you give Scorpion's "Get over here"?
C-.
I give it a C as well.
Because Hanzo Hasashi / Scorpion, obviously Japanese. He's never shown speaking or understanding anything in English.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he does the famous "Get over here" in perfect English.
In perfect English, and sort of politely.
Yeah.
It's like, "Come over here, please, post haste." It's a little hard.
It's a little jarring.
Well, I'm kind of teasing the movie because it's not a big deal.
No.
But it's not the iconic loud "Get over here" line. It's just like, "Get over here." You know, it's just kind of a normal. It's a little more forceful than that.
Yeah,
but it's
please come here.
Please come here, please. Post haste. I think overall the movie was pretty good. There are some things about it as a movie and as a Mortal Kombat fan that I can kind of nitpick.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. Sorry, I don't know if you were going to go into this or not. It does seem like they only had like 5 locations for the movie.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So let's run down the locations of the movie. Okay, so in the beginning, there's the scene in feudal Japan. Mm-hmm. That's one scene, that's one scene in one location. There is the MMA gym / arena, which is kind of the same thing because they use the same location for it. Then there is kind of Gary, Indiana. And then there is Raiden's Temple and the exterior around Raiden's Temple, and then there's Outworld.
Yeah.
And there might be a couple others, but those are the main locations. And Outworld and Raiden's Temple look like Raiden's Temple is shot in the daytime and Outworld is shot at like dusk.
Yeah, and on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's like it looks like it's the same space on Earth that they shot that. And it's a little weird. And then, of course, the MMA gym gets frozen over. That's where the final fight happens. So it's kind of like a reskinned stage in the movie. Yeah. And that's a little bit like I wish we saw, like, technically they did fight at the pit. And there's like that weird arena where Liu Kang and Cabal fight for that second time. And like there's some others, but they're not like fleshed out locations.
Yeah, they're not the iconic Mortal Kombat locations, okay?
Yeah, we demand iconic locations.
Another one would probably be, I don't know, Chicago or whatever it is, where it's like a warehouse. And like honestly, I think like they shot the warehouse, the MMA arena / stage, and the final reskinned version of it, all probably in the same building.
Yeah, and then also there's that little cabin.
Oh yeah.
Where Cole Young's family lives, where Goro
appears in the barn.
He gets teleported by Shang Tsung into the barn. And that's pretty much it. I wish we saw like the Living Forest or even a glimpse of Shang Tsung's island or something like that. Goro's lair. They kind of tease in Outworld like a Goro shrine.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish that we saw Goro's lair for real.
Yeah. Or
something like that. So if you're a fan of the games, you're not going to see a whole lot of the iconic stages in the movie. What are your final thoughts on the movie? How would you break it down in kind of like a very simple rating system?
So, out of 10, I would probably give it like a 6. I've seen it 3 times, and the more you see it, the more you try not to think about it. But I can't help thinking about certain things. It's like, why didn't they do this, or why did they do this? So I would give it a 6. The action and the fight choreography and some of the special effects are very, very well done. The pacing is bad, like you said. The settings, like I said, I feel like this would have been better presented as like a mini series or like a series in general.
Yeah.
Where maybe on HBO Max or Stars or like one of those pay channels, where they can really have the budget of this movie behind like an entire series. I feel that from like a plot perspective, they could really kind of dive in deep to the Mortal Kombat universe.
Right.
And I would have liked to see that, but obviously we got this instead. But it was enjoyable. I probably wouldn't buy it. I'm glad I didn't, pay for it apart from, HBO Max. But it was good. It was enjoyable at least one time.
Right. So For me, one thing we didn't really talk about is the dialogue can be hit or miss. There's
Yeah.
some really good lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
And then there's also some lines that are just kind of like whatever. Another thing is I have a personal distaste for kind of audience, like representative characters, like kind of like stand-in characters like Cole Young is, like
Yeah.
a newcomer. Like I'd rather see just like authentic characters. I think Cole Young was just kind of average.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't bad, but he also
Yeah.
wasn't outstanding.
Yeah, I think he would have been better. Like if the character of Cole Young makes it into Mortal Kombat 12 or Combat Pack 3 or whatever, like he would be a welcome addition. But like as of right now, like I don't really like him as a character. The actor was good, but it just felt forced. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. So my grade for Mortal Kombat 2021 is a 7 out of 10. I have a little bit more of an optimistic view of the movie than Brother Thomas. There are some gripes, but the gripes are kind of outweighed by some of the positives of the movie. And there are a number of positives within the movie that I wouldn't mind, buying the movie on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, or shelling out the money for HBO Max and watching it. I think it's a enjoyable watch. I'll probably watch it again probably pretty soon because there's probably more there, and the action scenes are good, and there are a lot of good character moments. So yeah, 7 out of 10. You gave 6 out of 10, so 6.5 out of 10. That's more or less what the rating is on IMDb.com, and Rotten Tomatoes has it at like 55%. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but there is good in it, and there is also some bad in it, or at least just kind of like nitpicky stuff. At least for me, the biggest problem for me is the pacing. That I wish the movie had been longer and basically fleshed out some of the characters and some of the storylines. Yeah, end of movie review / discussion. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. I don't know why you're still here in the video watching this. You should have seen it already. I would recommend this to a Mortal Kombat fan. There's a lot of violence and gore that Mortal Kombat is known for, and there's a lot of cool character moments. But as just a general movie, if it's on TV or something like that, give it a watch. It's not offensively bad. But yeah, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation for sure.
It is. Mortal Kombat Annihilation is like a 0. No, a 1.
It's
a 1. We'll give it a 1 because we were kids at the time and we enjoyed it at the time. So there's a little bit of this stuff. It's like so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat 2021, pretty good.
Yeah.
There's some things that are there's just some issues with it. But anyway, this has been Mortal Martin.
And Brother Thomas.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe, and comment down below.
Also, if you prefer this kind of commentary on movies and just stuff, comment down below. Maybe we can do more of these.
All right. Thank you for watching.